welcome to LongShots Sports, LongShots TV. We're going to talk some NFL football. Alongside me, Donnie, right side. Good morning, Donnie.
Happy Sunday, Tony.
Happy Sunday. Yeah, looks like a very interesting Sunday the way it's shaping up. Donnie and I have been anxiously looking and awaiting the full injury report, and it's not quite out yet, but there is some very interesting things happening on the boards today. We're just going to sit down and run down through the games, and starting at 1 o'clock, we got Dallas at Cleveland. On my board, I'm showing almost 69% of the money on Cleveland, and Donnie's showing something just the opposite, so it depends on where you're looking at for that particular game. But what do you see there, Donnie? You see any reason that Cleveland may get their first win this season?
I like the fact that Cody Kessler is coming back in this game because I know he's a rookie, but what he's shown this year, they can move the football around, and he had a real limited, I want to say almost like participation from his offensive scheme. He's going to get back Corey Coleman today, which is great. Other wide receiver on the other side of the field has been fine. It's slipping my mind. Terrell Pryor, has certainly been a steadfast guy for him. I'd like to see Barnage get a little bit more action out of the tight end spot, but he's got two good running backs, Isaiah Crowell and Duke Johnson. Dallas, a big emotional overtime win over the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday night last week. Maybe a little bit of a hangover in this one. The one thing Cleveland has done well, Tony, is they've played well in the first half at home and sort of given up or coughed up that lead in the second half. The one thing Cleveland does is they can, I don't want to say stop the run, but they're effective against teams that run the football, which you're going to have to be with Ezekiel Elliott. Right. The number seems a little bit high to me at this point. It looks like they're asking you, or I should say begging you, to take Cleveland at this point, which I'm always leery of. But I don't know if I can lay over a touchdown on the road in this spot, even though, Tony, Cleveland hasn't won a game yet. They are pretty feisty at home.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Cleveland, this is a good spot for them. The number is 7.5. Looks like, the money is there, but, it's public perception on this game. I would, if I were going to bet this game, I would probably lean towards Dallas and take the 7.
Lay the 7 down on Dallas?
Yeah, lay the 7.
I can't. Dallas hasn't lost since opening day. Yeah. They're rolling. Cleveland's not a good football team. The one interesting thing is Cleveland tends to play really well in the first half and crumble in the second, so that might be something that you want to watch in that football game also.
Good possibility, so keep your eyes on that one. Okay, New York Jets at Miami. Miami's favored by 4 in this game. Neither team has been really steady or consistent, but boy, this would be a tough one for me to even touch. Donnie, what do you think?
It's an interesting game because both of these teams technically are sneaking under the radar, both coming off 2 straight victories and meeting up in this game. I know Miami has a little bit more juice to them, beating Buffalo, but Buffalo was banged up last week, and then beating the Pittsburgh Steelers, which were in a tough spot 2 weeks ago down in Miami, which is the game that Ben Roethlisberger got hurt late in the first half in that one. If you flip it over to the New York Jets, it's hard to bet the New York Jets.
Yeah.
They're Jekyll and Hyde. But if you take it for what it's worth, they start Geno Smith, which they were just giving up on Ryan Fitzpatrick. He ends up getting hurt, which is very good for the New York Jets because Fitzpatrick came in midway through that Baltimore Ravens game and led them to a victory. Also going on the road last week at Cleveland, they actually showed a little bit of heart, which is, not really a Jets thing to do by getting pounded by Cleveland in the first half and having a nice second half, even being, I believe they were up 11 at one point before giving up that late touchdown and 2-point conversion for a 3-point game. So both these teams interesting, both with 2 straight wins. I lean at this point, I guess, towards taking the points with the New York Jets since it's over a field goal, but tough game to cap overall.
Yeah, absolutely. The only notable thing that I saw in there is the Jets are 16-5 against the spread versus Miami since '92. So, Jets and the points.
It's exactly. Miami is a great team to back at home when they're getting points or if it's a close to a pick 'em ball game.
Right.
But now that they're playing that favorite role, you don't have to win. You actually have to cover the football game. So that's one to keep an eye on in that situation. I am eyeing that up for a 1 o'clock possible premium play. But again, we're just going to wait till some of these inactive reports come out. But leaning one way at this point, I won't divulge, but it's an interesting situation for sure, Tony.
All right. Next up, we've got Philadelphia Eagles and the Giants. This is a great game. There's been some reports out there that Eli and the Giants have had a really good week of practice, put in some new plays for this particular game, and are going to amp it up a little bit. And so, maybe we see a different Giants team coming out today. The Eagles, they've been pretty consistent, but then it's just a hard situation for either way to go. But if I was going to take anybody in this game, I would take the Giants at home -3.
It's interesting in this one because I believe the stat is the Eagles have won, I think, 7 of 8 up in the Meadowlands versus the Giants. The one thing that I always like to say, being an Eagles fan, is death taxes, and the Eagles crush Eli Manning. For some reason, Eli Manning cannot play football against the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, it's ever since he lost Plaxico Burress, it's just been pick, interception, pick six, domination on one end of it. It's a tough spot for the Philadelphia Eagles to be in. Again, losing last week. Overtime on the road, coming back, and they're playing their third straight team off of a bye in the NFL. That's a big situation. The only thing that, Tony, makes me leery here is if you watch the Philadelphia Eagles on the road at Detroit, they should have won the game. They fumbled the football. Yeah. Same exact scenario versus Dallas. They should have won that football game. Yep. So the Eagles actually could be coming into this game at 6-1, and would that line be the same for the sake of a couple fumbles? And if you look last week with the Rams game or 2 weeks ago, the Giants were horrible over in London. If it wasn't for a couple of Case Keenum punt passes to end the game, they probably lose that. The line is interesting to me because a home team off a bye versus a rookie quarterback on the road, and that line's been 2.5 and 3. It looks like it's steadied in at 3. It's an interesting game. My heart says I want to take the Eagles. I will not be gambling on this game one way or another because I think it's that close right down the middle. But the Giants are getting no respect with that line, and it looks like that line wants you to take the Giants here. I see a close NFC game, but if you take it on its face value, the Eagles don't really have any wide receivers. How are they going to move the football? Right. It's a really interesting one. The only thing you can hang your hat on is Eli does not play well versus the Eagles. But, again, there's not enough here for me to put any money on in this game. But certainly I'm going to be rooting for one team in this game. No question.
Absolutely. Be cautious, though, out there because, just rumors and what I've heard and read that the Giants are amped up for this game. So let's see. Next up, Jacksonville, Kansas City. I know a few people are really looking hard at this game over in our group too. Kansas City 7.5 at home. Kansas City's been doing pretty good. They're steadily one of those teams that have been grinding it, quietly under the radar. Jacksonville hasn't been that good, and they're on the road. So, my personal situation on that right there is when you get more to the touchdown. We've talked about this before, Donnie. It's usually good to take the points in this situation. But,
yeah, I mean, Kansas City, a good home team, Tony, there, but I agree with your sentiment on this one. This isn't a full-blast Kansas City football team. You have Jeremy Maclin, who's banged up with a groin, didn't practice all week. They say he's good to go, but being an athlete or playing sports, whether you have a groin injury, a hamstring, a knee, it's bothering you, you're not going to be 100%, and especially if you didn't practice, something's a little bit wrong there. Running back, Sharkandrick West is going to be the only running back basically they have. They picked Niall Davis back up, but you don't have, 2 other guys to supplement back there. And let's not forget, Alex Smith, for all of his, conservative play, he is their starting quarterback, and he's not playing today. It's going to be Nick Foles.
Right.
So the interesting situation you want to put up is you say, all right, it's hard to win in Kansas City. Kansas City just seems to keep steamrolling along. Doesn't matter who's in there, almost like a New England-type atmosphere, next man up. But you have to look at yourself and say, Jacksonville just fired their offensive coordinator. They're a little bit under the gun in this one. If you're going to get over 7.5 points, what you have to ask yourself is Kansas City going to be up 14 points in the fourth quarter? And do they care enough to make that last stop? When you have some weapons for Jacksonville, if I'm betting this game, I can't bet Kansas City. The only wager I would look at would be Jacksonville, just for the simple fact, backup quarterback over a touchdown. It's hard to cover a touchdown versus anybody in the NFL.
Absolutely. Okay, next game, Detroit at Minnesota. The Vikings are trying to get back on a roll after dropping 2, and Detroit started to get on a roll and just blew it last week. But Minnesota's favored by 6 at home. Again, I'm a homie on this one, so I'm not betting this game either. But in this situation, I like the +6 with Detroit. What do you think, Tom?
I'm on the same wavelength as you if I was just sitting back and looking at the lines and not betting.
Right.
Something's not. I know Jerick McKinnon's playing, but how effective can you be when your best attribute is speed and you have a bad ankle? He missed last week. He's coming back. Well, interesting to see. Captain Munnerlin's going to come back and help them out on the defensive side, but they are really injured on the front line. And if let's just say the Detroit Lions get back maybe DeAndre Levy today, Slay. Ansah obviously is out there. They have a very good pass rush versus a team that, if you watch the Eagles game and if you watch the Bears game, they relentlessly pressured Sam Bradford. And
Right.
Minnesota doesn't have any weapons. So what I ask myself is, why is this line 6 points or anything near 6 points? Because you're asking yourself, can Minnesota score 24 points? That's probably what it's going to take in order to cover a 6-point line.
Right.
I don't know if they can even move the football. First downs are tough, but that line is there for a reason. I know Minnesota's lost 2 straight. They have to win this football game. It's an interdivision game. Matt Stafford didn't play well last week. He's in another dome, which he was in a dome last week versus Houston. But again, is Minnesota going to be up 14 points in the fourth quarter? They struggle beating anybody at this point. That's what you want to take a look at if you're going to be betting this football game.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, too, Norv Turner resigned.
Yeah.
So, what does that say about the football team itself? I mean, obviously there's a reason for Norv Turner, but does it make all that much of a difference?
Yeah, I mean, Pat Shermer knows Sam Bradford from being in his Philly days and also being the head coach out in St. Louis when they originally drafted him. There is a certain amount of comfort level there, but the comfort level goes out the window when you don't have any weapons. I mean, I know Kyle Rudolph's a good weapon. They have a deep threat on the outside. McKinnon's on one leg. But if you watch the game last week, if you're going to hand the ball off to Matt Asiata and get 2.5 yards per carry, that's not going to bode well. And one interception for Detroit and the whole game is thrown out. But that line is sitting at 6 for a reason, and that's why I'm hesitant in just saying, take the Detroit, lines in this one. It's one of those games, if you looked at last night, Tony, with Nebraska getting 17 versus Ohio State, who wasn't playing well, and look how that turned out. It has one of those feels to me to that one, saying Minnesota might be able to right the ship today. I'm going to stay far away from this game, but I am going to watch it because I'm interested to see how it turns out.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. And, somebody just reminded me that you are a season ticket holder for the Eagles. Is that right?
Right here. Yep, that's it. We live this right here.
All right. Okay, Pittsburgh, Baltimore. This is also a very interesting game, and line 2. They've got this setting at 3.5, and looks like a lot of people are jumping on Pittsburgh out there. But we were talking about this before. How can you bet on Pittsburgh with they're so banged up? And Ben is going to start today, which I think is detrimental to the team, because we were joking around and saying that he's basically on a half a leg.
Yeah.
So how is he going to be able to move? I mean, if I'm the Baltimore defensive coordinator, I'm going to be attacking him.
Yeah, he's going to be in. What probably is going to happen, and I did see a few people reporting this, it's the only way, is the Steelers going to have to operate primarily, Tony, out of shotgun 95% of the game, because
Right.
just taking a 5-step drop is just going to put a lot of pressure on that knee, being only a week and a half out of surgery. Now, we've seen this all before where Big Ben cries wolf and he can't do much.
Yeah.
And, when the video is there where you're watching at the Steelers facility where he's just like hobbling around at quarterback, they're not going to let him play unless he can protect himself. So if he's going to be in the starting lineup, they obviously feel that he can move around to do the little things necessary. But on this outset, I can't take a quarterback who's limited, because Big Ben, what his specialty is extending the play, and you can't sack the guy because he's big as a building. That's all out the window. The minute they get near him, he's going to have to go down, because you can't take that struggle and that pressure with the knee. The other thing that you want to look at is if you take it back to the playoffs a couple years ago versus the Denver Broncos. If you remember when Big Ben, couldn't throw the ball 3 yards in practice because he sprained his throwing shoulder, and the very first play of the game, he tried to throw a 60-yard touchdown pass and had plenty of distance on it.
Yeah.
So I'm leery until, even watching him in warm-ups today, I know Big Ben's smart. I know he's going to be hobbling around like he can't move and just getting the chuckle out of it.
Yeah.
The only way you could bet this game, though, is Baltimore. They're going to be a home dog in this one. They're going to be ready. The Steelers aren't the Steelers yet until Big Ben is fully healthy, but it's one of those cat and mouse type games where I think Big Ben's going to be healthy enough to do the little things correctly, but there's no way I can lay the money on Big Ben. If it's anything in this game for me, it's going to be Baltimore getting the 3.5 at home.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, Baltimore is 2-0 against the spread, 2-0 straight up over the last 3 seasons, and both of those games went under the total.
Yeah.
Okay, so next up, we're going to be talking about New Orleans at San Francisco. I stopped even looking at anything about San Francisco. I just can't imagine being in that organization. I mean, it's just such a mess right now. New Orleans -3 on the road at San Francisco. I mean, what does that tell you?
It's an interesting game because the dome team going outdoors tends to struggle. San Francisco home off of a bye. San Francisco is terrible, though. without their best player, Carlos Hyde, today. They also have Lynch, the impactful defensive end. Looks like he's not even going to give it a go. And obviously all compounded with Navarro Bowman not being there for most of the year as well. It's a hard one to take because it's too easy to take. And, college is a little bit different. Sometimes when it's too easy to take, the team still steamrolls them. But there's got to be something that the odds makers are hanging their hat on, because they did even open the line at +3 and is now being bet up to 4.5. I do see one bookmaker out there at around 5 also. It's one that you probably want to stay away from because you just can't lay your hat on the New Orleans. They have their struggles with defense. Chip Kelly's going to run up tempo. Sometimes San Francisco shows up at home, but it's one of those games where, I don't know, they're coming off a bye, so it's going to give them a little bit better of a game plan. But I can't put money on San Francisco just because they're that bad. But I also can't back that defense and Drew Brees on the road. They tend to struggle. So it's one of those I'm probably going to pass on. But I know the betting public is probably just hitting up on New Orleans, and I just can't back that in the situation.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Carolina at Los Angeles. The Rams been doing pretty good this year. Carolina is Carolina, and they're getting 3 on the road. So here's another one of those situations, Donnie.
Yeah, Carolina sort of turned the corner last week. I had them as my only premium play of the day versus the Arizona Cardinals. They were in a great situation at home, coming off a bye. West Coast Dome team coming east. Everything played out well. It was a nice winner. This one's a little bit different and a little bit interesting to watch because Carolina's going to be tested a little bit on the defensive side of the ball. I don't really know how much of a home field advantage Los Angeles has yet, since it's really a transient city, new stadium. It's not really one of those stadiums that keeps in all the acoustics there. It's big, wide open. Just have that whole L.A. crowd feel anyway. But I have a hard time laying 3 on the road against a decent defensive team. I think Los Angeles is going to throw the kitchen sink at Cam Newton today. A couple key injuries there. Shaq Washington's going to be out for Carolina. Luke Kuechly's banged up. So they're not coming in 100%. But, as I said, I think Carolina did turn a little bit of a corner, and I never trust Jeff Fisher with what he's doing. But it's an interesting one. I probably won't be betting this game, but if not, me being the contrarian, I probably would lean towards taking the points with the home team here, Tony.
Yeah, and Carolina is 6-4 against the spread against LA over the last 3 seasons too. So, all right. Next up, we got Tennessee at San Diego. Tennessee, they've turned it around a little bit. San Diego's been tough. San Diego's only getting 3.5 at home. What do you see there, Don?
Interesting one. Tennessee, I like the way they play football, and I think it's going to play right into their positives going into this afternoon with the San Diego game. They're going to run the football, use a mobile quarterback. San Diego is not a quick strike team, and that's what Tennessee doesn't want to face up and force to be played faster than what they want to do. They want to pound the rock. They want to move the football. Delaney Walker is going to play today. It's going to help out Marcus Mariota, and they did get a clean MRI back on the running back. Slipping my mind right now. Marco Murray. I'm sorry. Got so many things going through my head right now, but it plays right into there. If you're going to get more than a field goal here, I would lean towards Tennessee, even though San Diego and Phillip Rivers, they just play every single game the way they're supposed to play. Good football, limiting the turnovers. Phillip Rivers is a fantastic quarterback with the game plan, just running it out there, calling it on the fly. But again, anything over 3.5 points with San Diego is going to be a tough one to hold, just because they're not as talented as what they obviously should be pre-injury. Denzel Perryman looks like he's going to miss the game on the defensive side of the football. So that's going to open up some running lanes for Tennessee. I do lean Tennessee in this one. Kind of a tough one there, but if you were asking me to take the game, I would take Tennessee.
All right. And then Indianapolis at Green Bay. This is going to be a great game. I'm really looking forward to this. Green Bay is favored by 7 at home. It's a tough one to pick if you're capping this game, but Green Bay should, I would think, in my opinion, be able to go ahead and cover that.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, again, because Indianapolis, they have a very good come-from-behind quarterback. Even if they're not coming from behind to win, if they're down 14 points in the fourth quarter, Andrew Luck is very good at moving the football, making those boomer-bust plays. That's something to keep an eye on. Green Bay's not going to run the football very much today. You're going to want to take a look to see if Vontae Davis is playing on Indianapolis. He's questionable with a concussion. If he's out, I already know a couple key injury situations on Green Bay that you want to look for. Hopefully Clay Matthews does play if you are betting Green Bay in this football game. That's going to be one to keep an eye on. But also the banged-up DBs, Quentin Rollins, Demarius Randall, also a number to keep your eye on for the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay's at home. They're hard to beat at home. Dome team going outdoors. If you're betting this football game, I look for Green Bay to respond here. I don't think that defense for the Colts is going to be too much of a matchup that's going to give Aaron Rodgers problems. It's just a shame that they don't have Eddie Lacy or Starks, because they did. They would have that run-pass combo, and they would be unstoppable today, putting up a lot of points. So not having that running back combo to go after Indianapolis is going to have struggled a little bit. If that game's at 7 or less, it's probably a Green Bay line. Anything more than that leaves that back door wide open.
Okay. Yeah, the money's pretty evenly split from what I'm looking at here. Okay, we go to the 8:30 game, Denver and Oakland. This, I think, is finally going to be a good prime-time game for a change. Got Denver with that great defense, and Oakland is doing really good. However, I understand Oakland does not have Amari Cooper tonight, so Denver's
he's supposed
favored.
to play, Tony. His back's fine. Yeah, he's going to play.
Okay, good deal. So that's a big plus for Oakland. I look for this one to be a great game. What's your feeling on this one, Donnie?
I think this is one of those games where you mark on your calendar and circle it for Oakland before the season. You're now 6-2 and Denver is 6-2, and you want to punch that bully right in the mouth. Aqib Talib is not going to play in this football game. That's going to be key. Also, Kayvon Webster is not going to play in this game. That's another cornerback down. They still have a decent secondary, obviously. Denver's got a very good defense. Denver likes to get after the quarterback. Oakland has protected Carr very well this year. It's at Oakland. It's at night. The crowd is going to be in a frenzy. I think Denver obviously still is the better team with the better weapons. You know, the been there, done that type of team. But I think this might be a game, Tony, where the little brother finally comes up and says, we can beat you, because Denver has won 5 straight games out there in the Bay Area. I think tonight it probably ends, and I think Oakland is going to probably pull this football game out.
All right. Yeah, if you're capping the game, Denver has been 15-9 against the spread in Oakland versus Oakland since '92, 2-0 at Oakland last 3 seasons against the spread and straight up. So that's going to be a great game, interesting game. I look forward to actually watching this one in prime time.
It's going to be fun. Definitely a good one. Finally, right?
Finally. It's been. What's the deal with the NFL this year? We've had so many issues. Is this just scheduling based on some type of mathematical process, or is it these are the teams they thought were actually going to be really good matchups for this season?
I think it's a lot of things. It's the downplaying of the NFL season in a way, just for the way the football games are constructed. The night games have been terrible, just the matchups have been bad. But the way the NFL is going, there's a lot of injuries right now. The Thursday nights have been terrible, but they really have to get a couple things figured out. If you watched college yesterday, even if they have the same amount of penalties, everything is fluid, everything goes through. And if typically in college football, if the penalty doesn't matter, like on a running play, the game I was watching yesterday was, I think it was, somebody ran the ball. Oh, Wisconsin. I was watching the Wisconsin-Northwestern game, Tony.
Mm-hmm.
Wisconsin had 52 carries total in that game and did not have a holding penalty. Can you imagine in the NFL if one team had 52 carries? There'd be 37 holding penalties. You have to let the football games play out unless it's an overall, like, you know, he's going to make the football play and gets tackled. The commercials are atrocious, especially in game time, in primetime games. The NFL really has a problem on its hands going forward. Limit the commercials, limit the penalties that don't matter. If you kick the football off and the guy gets tackled at the 21-yard line, why are you throwing a holding flag? It obviously didn't matter in that situation. Let him start at the 21. The same thing on a backside hold on a running play where the guy was never going to get in there and he gains 8 yards. Put the flag in your pocket.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. The NFL's definitely got to do something about this.
The game, just the whole game, Tony, is just terrible.
Yeah.
Watch a good college football game or anyone. The LSU game last night was 0-0. If you put that game in the NFL at 0-0, people are screaming, this is atrocious, I can't watch it. I couldn't get enough of that Alabama-LSU game last night. I loved it because it's a clean approach to a game, the way they do it.
And the atmosphere is so much better there.
Everything.
Everybody's screaming and yelling. It's just, I think the NFL has lost a lot of the excitement that used to be in
all
the
new
stands.
stadiums coming in, it's now corporate. I mean, I'm an Eagles season ticket holder for 20 years. If you take it back to the vet, it was raucous, but now you take it to a more corporate atmosphere. That's what they wanted. That's what they're getting. Higher ticket prices, better clientele, not better fans.
Right. Unfortunate. And then the other thing that drives me nuts, I just got to mention it, Donnie, I think you feel the same way about this, is the announcers on the games. You know, quit stating the obvious. We can see it. We understand it. We don't need you to tell us exactly what you said.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing, I mean, in the NFL game, which is so different than college, Tony, anybody can interpret any rule they want. There's
Right.
a fumble in the field. There's a catch. What sport do you know of where you can watch 5 HD replays and you can make a case for both sides, and then the ref comes out and announces it, and you have no idea what he's going to say or have?
Yeah.
That's atrocious. That's atrocious.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. So that's a whole nother show that we're going to talk about. We're hopefully going to have a roundtable about that. Okay, one last game to talk about real quick. The Buffalo's Monday night game, Buffalo at Seattle. This is a game that I am on. I have a side and a total on this game. It's going to be a very good game. What do you see out of this, Donnie?
I haven't taken a great look at it there, but I do lean towards Seattle. Anytime Seattle's in Seattle, they do have a problem laying touchdown or more a lot of the times, but I'm not believing all the hype on Shady that he's going to be playing in this football game. He might go out there, but if you're built on quick twitch moves, the worst thing to have is a rough hamstring. So I look for him to be somewhat limited in this football game, and Seattle is just going to chew down. If you don't have wide receivers to beat you, and you don't have a running game that's going to be effective, and you're built on a mobile quarterback, Seattle's just going to get after you. But again, it's all going to come down to the line. 7.5 or more, you might look Buffalo. Anything less than that, you're probably going to look Seattle.
Yeah, and LaShawn McCoy is upgraded to probable.
Yeah, he's going to play in that game, but, I mean, we've seen Shady before say he's going to play all week long. And, again, hamstring injury for a running back built on cutting and speed, that's a tough one.
That is. Okay, well, guys, that's a quick rundown for the NFL games today. Enjoy the games, and we'll see you guys on Friday night. Thanks, Donnie. You can get to Donnie at DonnieRightside.com and at TrendBetting.com, and LongShots at LongShots TV. So thanks for joining us this week, and remember to follow our Twitch channel and subscribe over at YouTube for us as well. I'd appreciate it. We'll talk to you next Friday, Donnie.
Let's do it. Let's have a good day, Tony.
All right. Remember, take a shot with long shots. We are the game.
Even get to cross.